The Super Media Bros podcast is a founding member of the OddPods Media Network.
Super Media Bros.
Is it just me, or do you think these movies could have possibly done better today rather than the time they came out?
Yes and no. Looking at where we are now post-pandemic, even though it's all done, dude, box office is so weird. I feel like I had a much better grasp of the box office and the numbers like 4 years ago.
Yeah, same. Welcome to episode 280 of the Super Media Bros podcast. I'm Richie.
I'm Devin.
Cult Cinema Showdown 105. We haven't done one of these in a fucking while.
Yeah, life is very, very, very busy and overwhelming. So watching two movies and then sitting down to talk about them for an hour and a half and then editing and all that stuff, it's difficult sometimes, guys.
Yeah, I mean, I still say this to this day. I cannot believe at one point it was a bi-weekly thing, which honestly, like, pulling it back a little bit makes them feel a little more special when they do come around. So
yeah,
you can have a little Cult Cinema Showdown as a treat. This week we are covering Speed Racer versus Astro Boy. Both are films based on the anime and manga of the same names. Much different, very whitewashed. Wachowskis and Nicolas Cage.
Is that the title episode?
No, but I swear on everything. It's like, how do you sell this episode? Fucking Nick Cage and the directors of The Matrix.
Yeah, and it kind of shows that that's what happened with the studio. They were like, "You guys made The Matrix." At the time, was it not the biggest movie of all time?
It was a big one.
Okay, I know it was very high up there. I just don't know if it was number one, but it shows because they were just like, well, what do you want to do next? I want to do this.
Right, and for two people that directed a film, The Matrix, that derived heavily from Ghost in the Shell.
My all-time favorite anime.
Right. You made mention that the Wachowskis had no fucking idea what Speed Racer was.
And coming from somebody that... I'm going to make a full disclosure. Speed Racer was way before my time. I didn't get to watch any of it. And so my only recollection of this movie and its property outside of the movie is the tie-in video game for the Nintendo DS. That's it. That's all I got. Which, by the way, probably my favorite racing game I've ever played. Haven't played very many, but of them, it was Speed Racer. But that said, even though I didn't grow up watching the show, so I have no idea how much of the continuity is derivative, bruh, you can tell that it is strictly paying homage to anime and anime alone.
Yeah, and the thing is instead of taking, and this is what cracks me the fuck up, okay? They literally said it's the weirdest looking shit, which is why we're going to do this.
Yeah.
And instead of taking direct inspiration from the actual anime, they took it from Akira, Tarzan, Tron, and the Castle of Cagliostro.
Are you for real? Like, are these real notes?
Yes.
Oh, dear God. How do you... Guys, I never understood that. Okay, if you're going to adapt any form of property, be it an old television show, cartoon, video game, book, anything, what is so difficult about adapting the source material instead of adapting from?
No clue, but I guess we're going to just get into Speed Racer now.
Okay.
So the movie, at the time, this was huge budget, $120 million, and it only grossed $93.9 million. It was a commercial flop, but to be very fair, this does have a very strong cult following as a movie.
It does. And also, I don't know the exact dates, but it was going up against Iron Man at the time.
Iron Man came out, if I'm not mistaken, it was like May 5th, 2008. And then this one had come out April 26th.
Yeah, so Iron Man was still there. I do distinctly remember that because I remember, this is what's weird about me. Even as a kid, I was always like, well, yeah, you know, the corporate machine is backing this one, but hey, can we all give a little push to the little guy too?
Yeah.
I would walk around school. This is so weird. My English teacher had a kid that was like 2 grades below me, and me in like, I want to say 3rd, 4th grade. Hey, Miss Courtright, you should bring your son to go see this movie. And she was like, okay, yeah, I heard that Iron Man was doing really good. And I was like, oh yeah, I seen both. Yeah, they're great. See both. Because I just wanted peace and harmony amongst both. Because as a little kid, you know, this shit was fucking fire.
But there was no reason for this fucker to be 135 minutes. I'm sorry.
No. I don't know why it was. And I'm thinking back, and it's like, dude, why was it that?
They had to shove backstory. Like, because think about it, okay? Like, they had to set up Racer X's backstory.
Mm-hmm.
They had to set up Speed being like, oh, I idolize my brother, and all I think about is racing, and this is my life. My family lives it, eats, shits, breathes this fucking thing. I mean, they got all the people in there from the show. Like, they had Pops, and they had, you know, the mom, and they had fucking Trixie. Everybody you could think of, they had them in here. Now, it was literally, and I've read this exact quote, and it's true. It's an assault on all senses. Like, when you watch this movie.
Oh, dude, it's loud.
Yeah, and what I love about it, though, is it was also very innovative at the time with cameras that were used for it, and even just the way that they shot foreground and background. It felt like a real live-action anime, you know?
Oh, for sure. Like, and the thing is you got to think back at the time, you know, those green screen movies were all the rage, man. Like, look at fucking 300 is the first one that I think of. The Spirit, fucking Sin City, Spy Kids, fucking like.
But no, what I'm getting at is like that. It's, you take, like, these movies are done pretty fucking well.
Mm-hmm.
Most of those movies are kind of washed out in color. This is like really bright, really in your face.
Probably why I liked it as a kid so much.
Big same. I mean, I wasn't a kid, but I mean, I was younger. I was like 21 when this fucking came out. Or 22. And fucking the racetrack in the beginning of the movie, though, it reminded me of Mario Kart.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I was sitting there like, okay, so we're definitely adapting this, but there's some originality as far as like, we're gonna. There's a lot of the parts of this movie where they go like cross country, reminded me of like Cannonball Run and shit like that. Which the movie was PG, and it was wild because I remember hearing when they were just like they threw like ass and shit, and I'm like, isn't this supposed to be like a family film? And they're just kind of like dropping cuss bombs like it's nothing. I don't give a fuck, me, but like looking back on like just, you know, rewatching it for the first time in literal decades, it's like, damn, man, like
that's something that I've noticed about that weird time period, that a lot of family movies did that back then, where I don't know if they were trying to placate towards the parents, or, you know, maybe like make it to where, because I'm sure I was an only child. I don't know personally, but I feel like there were many instances where it's like, hey, take your brother to go see that movie. And so maybe they wanted it to be like the 17-year-old brother doesn't want to shoot himself in the face for watching this.
Right. Here's the funny part. There's a spot in the movie towards the end, which obviously we're not going to go linear front to back with either one of these movies. We just want to have a broad discussion about them in general. But like at the end of the fucking movie, when Speed and Trixie are going to kiss, this is what cracks me up. His little brother pops up in front of him. He's like, kids that are afraid of cooties might not want to see this. They literally heard your dad say shit.
Yeah.
and ass and all of this other stuff. I fucking highly doubt they're going to be, at any of that shit. That whatever.
Spritle somehow looks like he's 8 and 45 at the same time. Look at him. Tell me that little kid does not look like a fucking mobster.
It's because he's 28, dude. Like now he's 28, and it's just fucking funny because he looks exactly the same.
Bro, he looks like a fucking mobster in this movie.
Yeah, he really does, actually.
Like, whenever he was walking around with the fucking TV remote and shit, I was like, nah, he gonna fuck somebody up. I'm telling you. And then the goddamn monkey, which, by the way...
Chim Chim is great.
Dude, Chim Chim, I was reading up on this movie, okay? They beat that monkey's ass on set.
Are you fucking serious?
Oh, yeah, dude.
No. Damn, so they was lying their asses off, and they were just like, oh, yeah, the American Humane Society monitored all this shit on this film. Like, what the fuck they did.
Yeah, after you beat his ass.
Damn, that's depressing. That's depressing to fucking know. Oh, my God.
Oh, I mean, look at Michael Jackson, though. Michael Jackson used to beat the fuck out of his chimp. Why are you laughing?
Why is Michael Jackson being brought into this conversation?
Because he had a monkey, and he used to beat the fuck out of him.
You remember, and I'm not changing the subject, but this kind of goes in hand in hand.
Why are we laughing at this?
I don't know, because spanking the monkey, that's why. That's why I'm fucking laughing, if you really want to know. But, dude, so this was during that weird fucking time period where movies just, and this was like a callback to the 90s also.
Yeah.
Movies just had monkeys in them for no fucking reason.
Dude, I used to love that shit because that's another thing I loved as a little kid.
It was like Dunstan checks in, fucking Monkey Trouble. Didn't Rookie of the Year have a fucking monkey in there somewhere?
I think so. It was something like that. What was that one hotel movie with, dude, it was a white background. I'm pretty sure it was a Disney movie. Okay. Like the little clam shut case.
Yeah.
Pull up a fucking poster of that shit. Help me out here. It was a woman. She was wearing like the lady blazer with the skirt, I think. Curly hair. I want to say it was dirty blonde, reddish, auburn, fucking, I don't know. I'm going based off of a memory. Bright red lipstick, though. I remember that. And a bunch of animals. And I remember a big ass fucking monkey.
You got me, dude. Like this. Don't fucking know.
I remember this. This is not a Mandela effect. There was a goddamn monkey on this movie, and I don't remember the movie.
If you remember this movie, please leave a comment below.
Mighty Joe Young was another one. Fucking
Congo.
Yeah, dude. I loved that shit. So you got that. You got race cars and everything. Like, and this is the thing.
You got Christina Ricci.
Yeah, dude. Like, bruh. Okay, and here's the thing is like, I don't know if I ever told you this. As a kid, I had several dream jobs. Okay, because little boy, we all do. One of them was rock star. One was making movies. One was pro wrestling. A big one was fucking race car driver. Because you got to realize, we went from Herbie Fully Loaded to Ricky Bobby to Cars to Speed Racer, all in like a pretty like have one year and then skip a year and then have another one. A couple of those were back to back. It's like, fuck. Like, I was like, yeah, dude. I was all into fucking racing.
Yeah, and you got to think this was also amidst the Fast and the Furious still.
That too, yeah.
It's hard to believe that the Fast and the Furious franchise has been around for 20 years, dude.
And that's what I'm saying. So, like, to put in a monkey and race car driving, like, I was sold, man. And then you start making it all, like, anime and shit. Super bright colors. You got the babes in it. I was like, fuck.
And the story is really good, actually, in this movie. So, like, the story is that Rex Racer, who is Speed's older brother, fakes his death, I guess, in order to protect his family from, like, the corporation coming after his dad's company because he because he pretty much, like, he walked out on his dad to go sign with a major company, and like they owned his ass at that point, and like the races were all fixed and all this other shit, and it's just, this is a whole fucking plot to this movie because eventually like Speed grows up. He's kind of chasing the shadow of his brother, literally and figuratively speaking, he gets offers from the direct competition, which is ran by Royalton, and that guy was a fucking dickbag.
Dude, he was so fucking slimy. The fucking pancake scene, dude.
Dude, look, I have never in my life wanted a pancake more.
Bruh, you are not lying. And when they started listing off the ingredients, I was like, fuck.
I know. I was
I'm
sitting
about
there
to order some fucking Caucasian barrel.
Bruh, I'm telling you, Honky Bucket is where it's at.
Dude.
God, I
They
love.
do have some good food.
Oh, I know. I love Cracker Barrel. Goddamn. But yeah, he's such a fucking slimy prick in this movie. Like whenever they're touring the factory, like because they bring Speed and his entire family to basically their headquarters, and he's like, "Hey, we build champions here." There's like a whole fucking wall of like trophies, and Speed sees other racers that he's looked up to, and they're like, "Oh, I heard you were gonna be here," and like it's an honor to meet you, and all this other shit. And then he's like, "Take a look at this contract, boy, and sign it." And it's like it's like he's got 4 stacks of fucking contracts. He's got the New Testament version. He's got the King James version. He's got the new translations of the Holy Scriptures version. And then he's just got the Bible version. This motherfucker had Bibles of fucking contracts. I'm like, I would not want to read through all that shit. No wonder the little fucker didn't sign. Because he flat out was like, I don't think I can do this to my family or my dad. We have like core values and your shit just don't line up. And that guy was just like he's just like, I'm gonna give you a chance, you little bastard. You fucking sign this shit. It's like, no, I don't think I'm gonna.
Dude, and then they went into like a fantasy transition, which by the way, there are transitions on transitions.
Bro, and that's the other thing about this movie is it does not let up. There's no like downtime. And that's the same with Astro Boy when we get into it eventually. But like this fucking movie here, that fantasy thing was actually really neat though, because the guy was sitting there telling him what was going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And you're sitting there going along for the ride of like, oh, this is what's going to happen. And they're showing like, oh, this. And you're thinking, okay, this is all, probably going to happen. This is actually happening. Like it actually fucking does happen.
Yeah. Well, what happened with me is I remember being in the theater with one of my buddies. Okay. And we were like, God, maybe 11, 10, something like that. And whenever they showed that scene, I remember us both yelling, "Why'd he do it?" Because we thought that was like actual footage, not a fantasy.
Yeah.
And so we like
he's telling you what's happening. Why are you doing it anyway?
Yeah, like we thought that was showing that he signed it and you're transitioning like a fast forward.
Right.
But no, it was just, dude, I don't ever want to hear people talk shit about Batman vs. Superman with the transitions and the dream sequences, because this movie built a foundation of plot based off of transitions.
Yeah.
Not shitting on it, I'm just stating a fact.
Yeah, for sure. So like all that shit happens, and basically he's just telling, he's like, I'm going to fucking blackmail you and your entire goddamn family. I'm going to have your dad brought up on IP charges, like where he's going to be sued for like intellectual property infringement. And it's like, for fucking what?
Well, free him.
Right. Jesus Christ. Like for real though, man. He does all this shit. And then out of nowhere, we get fucking Tejo, the only Asian character in this movie. And it should have been the opposite. Like, fuck, man. So I don't even understand. Like he was just kind of there. You know what I mean? I felt like there was some shit that just didn't need to be there. Like 30 minutes of this film didn't need to fucking be there.
Well, this movie kind of did something that Astro Boy did as well, which is like the plot is definitely existent. Like they wove it together, but as you're watching sequences, you're like, you easily could have made 2 to 3 different films out of this.
Yeah, and I feel like, having gone back to look at it, I have to be objective, because the filmmaker in both of us and the film critic in both of us and the fan in both of us is like, okay, I know the source material pretty good, but I also understand that you're having to tell a Western audience what is going on with this shit, because the only thing that most of us remember from Cartoon Network is ha 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 and speeding and ha 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 and speeding. And the motherfucker was like Japanese Mickey Mouse with his oh.
See, I never watched it. At least Astro Boy, I had one episode of context. One.
Yeah.
And that's not due to a lack of interest. It was just that I never got around to watching it.
Right. But the movie itself, as far as Speed Racer goes, it's loosely based, but it does absolutely have some good substance to it. It just felt bloated as far as like the runtime. But at the same time, they kind of dragged ass on the origin story with like his brother and like the backstory and all that crap. But I have to commend them on the racing sequences themselves.
Oh
because
my God.
The fucking action in this movie, it didn't let up like when it did happen.
Yeah, and you can talk all day about the CGI, or maybe it was a style, maybe it was just poor CGI, whatever you want to call it. We can say that aged if you want to, but in terms of like just the action that we were watching, that shit is still gas, dude.
I'm going to tell you why it aged well.
Mhm.
Why I think it aged well, and why I still think it has a cult following. Were we trying to make a dark and gritty Speed Racer where it looked really real, or were we trying to make a very vibrant cartoon movie?
Exactly.
Because it still holds up in the regard of it's a very vibrant film, and it doesn't matter if the CG looks bad. It's supposed to look like a fucking anime.
Exactly. So it definitely knows what it is. Somewhat. I think tone-wise, it switches up a little too often and too aggressively.
Yeah. And I'll tell you, the glue that holds this together is not Emil Hirsch, which he did a great job as Speed. I thought he did fantastically. John Goodman is the glue that holds this film together.
Absolutely. I think the actor that portrayed Speed did what he could do, but I feel like the directors were not directing him properly, because there were so many scenes where his chemistry with Trixie was great, but I feel like he as a character was he had a compelling story, but very wooden.
Yeah, he didn't feel very developed.
Not at all. Like, sort of what do they call those? Would you call him a Mary Sue, or would you? I don't know.
I mean, not quite, because if you think about Speed, kind of in a way never grew up. Like he grew up enough.
Yeah, he's a white meat baby face.
Yes, like to put it in a pro wrestling term, absolutely. Now, I thought the casting of Matthew Fox as Racer X was really cool.
Yes,
because it's not the same. It's not Scott Porter. Scott Porter played Rex Racer, and the story is that when he faked his death, he got plastic surgery to like remove his goddamn smile and all this other shit. Like he just looks fucking different. Which Racer X is also a great band, by the way, if you ever want to check those fuckers out. Just a little side note.
What genre?
Rock and roll, my friend, but it's like
Yes,
prog.
sir.
It's prog.
Okay.
It's good shit. Anyway, I thought Matthew Fox did really good, but he looked like fucking Daredevil. Like the whole time I kept thinking, is this Daredevil? What the fuck, man?
No, but and as far as like anime stuff goes, though, I did like, because I was reading up as much as I could on the anime because I had so many questions. Like, I did like that they made Pop actually have some wrestling background, and he did like the little spinning thingy in the air.
Died laughing at that sequence where he just threw that son of a bitch around, and I can't remember which character it was. They were just like, "There's a ninja." It's like they were just
More
like,
like
"There's
a ninja."
Yeah. Oh my fucking dude. Again, I will watch anything with John Goodman.
He's great.
I actually enjoyed Speed Racer more than I thought I was going to on the second watch through.
Yeah. See, I feel a little differently only because, like, you got to remember, as a kid, this was like peak cinema.
Right.
You know? And then you look at it as an adult and you look at it more objectively. It's not a movie where it's like, dude, I should be terrified to watch all my childhood classics. No, I never hated watching it. I never even disliked it. The issues that critics were talking about that went over my head as a kid, because I was a weird kid that would always read critic reviews on movies and music and whatnot. I don't know why. I was obsessed with that. I think it's because I was trying to validate my own taste. I don't know. But I remember all of those critiques. And as an adult now, I'm like, okay, I see what you're saying, but it's still enjoyable. Bloated, I feel like you easily could have cut out a couple of subplots.
Right. And that was going to be the kind of the wind down of on my end, is that like that's really my only critique, is I thought it was a little too long. And you nailed right on the head with the subplots. Like a couple of them could have been taken out completely.
Completely take out the fucking I wouldn't call them mafia, but the little like gang situation thing, like them hunting them down and all that stuff.
Yeah, that was just kind of, what the fuck?
Cut that out entirely.
It would not have affected this movie, I don't think.
In fact, constructive criticism here.
Sure.
This very easily could have been a very personal story where it just was about Speed dealing with the death of his brother and then finding out that he's back. Take out the corporation aspect all too fucking together and just make it about, this is what I accomplished without you. What did you do?
True. I mean, you could probably have done the subplot of the corporation, having the corporation be responsible for his brother's death. All that other stuff. But I love where that could have gone. And this wasn't terrible for what it was.
No. I feel like when we wrap up reviews, we either sound like we love something or that we hate it. But
it's okay.
Yeah,
there's kind of an in-between here for me where it's, I don't hate it, but I don't like, it's not like the greatest fucking thing, but it's not terrible. Like, it's worth a watch. It's worth looking at. If anything, to see the visual aspect of it. And speaking of visual, I never even got around to saying this, but they did a phenomenal job on recreating the Mach 5 car.
Yes.
It looks so good.
Oh my God. Like, you can talk all day about some of the CGI, but the Mach 5, there are some scenes where I'm like, that's a real car, isn't it? Like, they built that, right?
Yeah, because they hung it from a fucking crane to shoot the driving sequences.
Okay, that makes sense, because there are some scenes in particular where I'm like, no, that's a real fucking car. I mean, look, this is how I can describe it. I'm not going to watch it particularly often, but if my godchildren ever come up to me and go, Uncle Devin, we want to watch this, and they show me the DVD case, I'm going to be like, well, what you know about that?
Right?
Put it in.
Yeah, Speed Racer is definitely worth the watch, everybody.
Yeah.
And if you know this movie, and hell, it might be your favorite movie. There's a lot of people, like, and we would know this having like reviewed several cult films. Like, there are tons of these movies where this is people's absolute favorite films,
Mm-hmm.
If you are the biggest Speed Racer fan, please leave a comment below. Or just, be like, hey, you missed this or you missed this. Because it's impossible to get into an entire 2.5 hour, almost 2.5 hour movie in less than a half hour.
Yeah, dude. Like, there's so much more that I would love to talk about, but we'll be here all night.
Yeah, same. So we're going to take a break. And when we come back, we're going to talk about Astro Boy from 2009, just a year after Speed Racer dropped. You're listening to the Super Media Bros podcast on the OddPods Media Network. Don't go anywhere. If you haven't heard already, it's Smooth Sack Summer. When you're playing in the summer sun, make sure that you're scaped from pubes to bum. That's right. This is the summer to keep your balls cool while still looking hot with Manscaped. The leaders in below-the-waist grooming are making sure that we all have a ball this summer by giving our pants partners everything they need to stay fresh. Dive headfirst into Smooth Sack Summer by going to manscaped.com and getting 20% off plus free shipping with our code SUPER. The Performance Package 4.0 has everything that you need to prepare your summer bod, including their Lawnmower 4.0 body trimmer. It features a cutting-edge ceramic blade to reduce grooming accidents thanks to their advanced skin-safe technology. Did I mention the trimmer's waterproof too? Beach, lake, or shower, the razor's going to devour even the strongest of pubes. And now that you have the perfect haircut, use Manscaped's liquid formulations to keep that freshness even at the hottest summer barbecues. Most importantly, use the Crop Preserver ball deodorant to stay cool in the heat. It's got a soothing aloe vera formula, and it's the best in the business for below-the-waist freshness. Manscaped even threw in 2 free gifts to this Performance Package 4.0, the Manscaped Boxers and the Shed Travel Bag. And look, if you're wearing sandals with some nasty toenails during the summer months, you need to take a look at the Shears 2.0. It's a luxury nail grooming kit. This kit includes stainless steel nail cutters, tweezers, and grooming scissors. With the Performance Package, your balls will be ready to impress, but make sure that you cover the rest with the Shears 2.0. Get 20% off plus free shipping with our code SUPER at manscaped.com. That's right, 20% off plus free shipping site-wide with the code SUPER at manscaped.com. It's Smooth Sack Summer, boys. Get on board or get left behind.
Hey, this is Russ.
This is Kyle.
This is Michelle.
From the Infectious Groove Podcast. Join us every Monday for the most fun you can have with a music podcast. The Infectious Groove Podcast uses a positive and fun approach as we take time every week to share our jammy jams, then dig into a thought-provoking topic discussing all decades and genres of music. You can find the Infectious Groove Podcast on all major podcast platforms, or you can head to infectiousgroovepodcast.com to find us there and subscribe. We might have a controversial opinion here or there, but we always have fun with it.
Oh, I'm sure I'll say something dumb.
Subscribe to the Infectious Groove Podcast, part of the OddPods Media Network.
All right, and we are back. We're going to talk about Astro Boy. It was released in October of 2009 with a budget of $65 million, which is kind of low for a CG animated film, and it only grossed $42 million altogether.
I'll be honest. There are some scenes where I'm like, damn, this animation is really good. And then there's some scenes backdrop wise where I'm thinking, could use some texture, particularly in the labs. I feel like the labs were too smooth. And I know that that was a creative choice, but I just was not eye-pleasing.
When I tell you this really quickly, like before we even get into the movie, you're gonna shit a brick.
Okay.
So, Imagi Animation Studios is the studio behind this. They also did the 2007 TMNT film.
I can see that, actually.
Astro Boy is single-handedly responsible for tanking the company.
Well, yeah, I could see that because... oh, fuck. So, more often than not, there are exceptions to the rule, but more often than not, in my studies, I have found that take what the production budget is, double it. That's what they need to make to break even. So anything over the double budget is going to be pure profit. They didn't even hit the production budget.
Yeah, and here's the thing. Before this studio folded, they actually had planned to release a Gatchaman film, a T-28 film, which was Tetsujin 28 Go. It's basically the movie or the manga that had inspired Otomo for Akira. Like whenever because remember how he was putting the number 28 on Tetsuo? Yeah. That's pretty much where that had come from. It was a reference to that. And then they were also going to make a Legend of Zelda film.
Are you fucking kidding me?
Nope. Those were among most of the films that got canceled in the wake of the fold of the company.
It's okay. It's okay. We're going to get a good Zelda movie after the success of Super Mario Brothers. It's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay. It's going to be worth the wait.
It is going to be worth the wait because I feel like it's better now than back then.
Absolutely. And I feel like companies understand what fans want more.
Now they do because, and I will say this, and I truly mean this.
Mm-hmm.
If not for Marvel successfully establishing a shared universe of characters and movies, they pretty much told other studios, hey, it's very possible to give the fans what they fucking want and create an interconnected universe. And I think that's what is about to happen with Illumination and Nintendo because they want to do a Donkey Kong spinoff. They definitely are going to make a Zelda film.
They're 100% doing another Mario.
Yeah, for sure. So something like this could not have existed in 2009.
No.
And Astro Boy is sadly one of the failures that kind of lends it to that because, and it's not that Astro Boy is a shit property. It's still a fucking huge deal in Japan, and it's still a huge deal as far as like manga readers and, you know, cartoons go. And I just don't think at the time, just kind of like how Speed Racer was, I don't think the Western audience was ready for this yet.
No, and also to be very fair, this kind of like Speed Racer was a bit of a mixed bag in that the first 30 minutes, I was like, how far are we into this movie? Because whenever they were like chasing him down and everything, I was like, first of all, low-key depressing.
I was about to say, you get into a family movie called Astro Boy, which it's being sold as like this really like action-packed family film, cartoon.
Optimistic.
Yeah, exactly. Hell of a cast. You had Freddie Highmore, Kristen Bell, Nathan Lane, Eugene Levy, Bill Nighy, Sam Jackson, Donald Sutherland, Charlize Theron, Nicolas Cage. You really had like, and that's not even scratching the surface of who all was in this movie.
No, the cast was very good.
Yeah.
Or at least it was a respectable roster. There's a couple of phone-ins in there.
For sure, Donald Sutherland. But, can you blame him? He was old.
Yes, I can blame him. He got paid.
True. Now, the movie was very westernized, including like calling him Toby instead of Tobiah and like, all this other fucking shit.
Was it really?
Yeah. Even his look, they westernized all the fucking faces and everything, dude. They completely like, even though it was cartoon, they whitewashed the fuck out of this shit, bro. They really did. I know. Like, what the fuck
couldn't
even?
Help themselves.
No, they couldn't, and it's fucked up.
You know what would have been a really cool way around like the westernized face though? Have Toby have the eyes that he had, but Astro Boy, like once he became a robot, have the anime eyes.
Dude, that would have been fucking fire as shit.
That would have been a great medium.
Yep.
But that again though, was nobody asking, hey, when we like tap your shoulder, why do you feel like you're made of metal? The fuck?
Yeah, nobody fucking, those are like little plot holes that we'll get into. But Toby is a teenager and he is on a floating island called Metro City. And his dad, played by Nick Cage, is Dr. Tenma, and he is a worker at the Ministry of Science. And they are creating this defensive robot that is using these energy spheres. But the problem is they are both different elements.
Mm-hmm.
One team has like a blue orb and another team has this red orb. Well, this fucking asshole who is played by Donald Sutherland, we'll just call him Stone, because they just call him Stone the whole fucking time in the movie. He's like, I'm running for a re-election. I want this, because he's basically backing like the red fucking shit or whatever. He's like, I want this red core in that motherfucker. And problem is like the red core turns everything fucking negative, and Toby is presented as this fucking super genius kid in school, like takes a test in like 10 seconds or less, and he fucking 100%'s that bitch. And he's super interested in his dad's work, so he just kind of sneaks his way into the laboratory, and he gets fucking murdered whenever they use the goddamn negative thing, like the negative core. They use it, and he gets fucking killed in the force field, and yeah. So his dad does what any grieving father would do, and motherfucker's gonna create a robot version of this kid. And this is where we get the depression. Because I was watching you the whole time. I was like, I'm about to see how you react to this, because we finna find out.
Yeah, because like this is one of those things, and I even brought this up to you where, we grew up on like some dark and twisted fucking kid films.
Bro, we went hard as kids. I swear to God.
Yeah, like, but I'm looking at it now from the perspective of, like I said, I'm an only child, but like I got god kids that call me uncle. So I look at it from their eyes, right, as their uncle. And I'm like, you little shits would not make it through this movie. Y'all get fucking traumatized by this. Like, fuck.
Yeah.
But then you start to really unpack it and how Toby is like, he's got all of his memories, but he's different.
There's no like feel to his personality. It's just kind of like a literal ghost in a shell.
There is that, which is quite a deep layer to this movie that they did not have to put in, but they did. But also he has the memories. So it'll be like, oh, well, I said I liked this, but I didn't really, And you can look at it from two different angles, where the father heard him say, oh, no, I like that. So he thinks, no, my son likes that. Not realizing that the boy is just trying to emulate you. He just wants to make you proud.
Right.
And you never realize that. Or the way I perceived it was, no, he never liked it, never said he liked it. You just assumed so because you were too busy with your work. One is equally as depressing as the other.
Yeah, but I feel like for me, like the most depressing piece of it weirdly is when he's giving these books to read and he leaves the room and he's got this robot assistant who is really timid and they are hanging out and Toby wants to test the Da Vinci theories or whatever with like all these planes and all this other shit. And he does it like with all the paper out of the books. Well, when his dad comes back in, he's all like pissed and he's like, what the fuck are you doing? Like he's just mad about him destroying the books when in reality, he's just being a fucking kid who's really too smart for his own good. So his dad's just like, oh, you're smart, but not in the way I want you to be fucking smart. Go to your room. Like, dude, he's fucking pissed off and he's just like, I think you should go to your room. He's like, Dad, I need to go to do as I say. And I was like, God damn, bro. Like, really? Then he immediately phones his assistant. He's like, I think I made a terrible mistake. And I'm like, fuck, bro, you the mistake.
Dude, there was that. And by the way, the robot assistant was mind blown that this robot kid was in here because he was like, you can't be Toby. Toby is, wait, what? You know?
Yeah. And because he was fucking mourning him.
Yeah, but what got me was like, hold on. How long has passed?
Yeah, and that's what I was going to say. They never gave like a timeline on that. They never were just like 24 hours later or like 2 weeks later or 6 months later. You really have no idea.
I know this is unrealistic, but the way that the film was directed, it felt like immediately he got to work and built him within
like a day or two.
Yeah. And so whenever the assistant was like, who are you? I was like, oh, you knew about this? I didn't even realize that the assistant was aware.
Right. Like the way it could have been presented is that Tenma was like, whoever was in the room, he's like, don't tell a motherfucking soul.
Yeah. Like I thought, number one, you were aware that he was building this, but number two, I could also say, I didn't even know you were aware that Toby was dead to begin with.
Yeah.
Because for all we knew, it was all within 24 hours.
Yeah, and in that same time frame, if you really want to get down to fucking brass tacks about it, and like time frame wise, it doesn't feel like even a week has passed between Toby dying, Tenma rebuilding him and putting his memories in, and then him pretty much being like, he kind of fucking Andy's his ass, like from Toy Story 2. He's just like, I don't want to play with you anymore. And he's like, he literally fucking tells him, he's like, I don't want you anymore.
Yeah.
Who the fuck says that shit? Like, goddamn. It's like he's got memories and feelings, obviously, and he was pretty fucking sad about it. And so his plan was to send him away because in the movie, everything that falls off this island below is like scraps or robots that are not needed anymore. They're just kind of discarded and everything.
Except for a fucking family of humans that we really don't know how they were able to survive such a fall.
Yeah, and how they got down there, why they're down there, what the fuck's going on.
What are they eating other than
pizza?
Scraps?
They're eating pizza somehow.
Yeah, like, okay, I understand it's trash, so dumpster dived. Okay, I got that, but from where?
Yeah, so...
Because it's not going to come from Metro City, because by the time it lands, it's not going to be one whole pizza. And who the fuck is throwing out a whole goddamn pizza anyway?
Multiple whole pizzas at that. Jesus Christ, man.
Every day.
Yeah. So pretty much the government is trying to be like, we need the blue core out of that boy, deactivate him. But he escapes or whatever, and he's getting like shot at by all these robots. And
this part was fucking dark too.
Dude, yeah.
And it was at this moment where I was like, how much more is there? Because like, I feel like this alone could have been like the origin story movie. We paused it, fucking 30 minutes. I was like, this was way too rushed. All of this section right here
that we've just discussed was in the first half hour.
And it could have, should have, and now would have been like
an hour at least.
Yes.
This would have been the 2 hour and 15-minute movie we talked about because let's be honest, the pacing of the Speed Racer anime It should not have been as long as it was as a live action film. Like Astro Boy has, I mean, now granted, Speed Racer has a lot of lore behind it too, but Astro Boy does as well. But the fact that they didn't even dig mostly into that lore, they just were like, hey, let's take these characters and a few of them and just like throw them in this fucking movie and like whatever with it. And they just shat it out. Like 30 minutes. The front half of this movie, like you just said, 30 fucking minutes.
Easily could have been an hour.
Yeah.
And it would have been better. Not that this was terrible. It's just, it felt too rushed. It felt like the script probably had 1 to 2 more sentences of dialogue for every sentence that was said. And they cut that out. And they were like, look, let's get the bare minimum so we can get to the actual movie.
They started writing this, I think, in 2004.
How do you have that much time? Come on, it could have been more polished then. How many writers were in there? Let me ask that.
2 credited writers.
Oh no, there's some ghost writers in there.
Yep.
There's gotta be.
Yep. Timothy Harris and the director David Bowers.
Nah, dude, that or the director was like, yeah, that's a nice script you got there. I'm gonna meddle with it. It's gotta be something. And I don't want to point fingers, but like something somewhere got muddled. It could have been the studio interference. It could have been producers. It could have been anybody. I refuse to believe that it was 3 people involved in the creation of this. I refuse.
Yeah, Summit Entertainment is the one that took over the distribution rights because it did get... Okay, so here's the thing. They started with Sony Pictures, and they were going to do a live action.
Oh, wow.
Yep.
Budget would not have held, but yeah, okay.
Yeah, so whenever the movie AI got made, you know, that Steven Spielberg film or whatever.
Yeah.
So whenever that got made, they were just like, oh, no, we need to hold off because we can't do an all-robot movie now. So then Sony was going to get another director to do a CG movie, and they were actually going to have Jim Henson Productions producing it, and they were going to put it out in 2004.
Oh.
Yeah. So the script for this, the screenplay got written but never like got produced, and they started a brand new one in 2004, like a new like script or whatever the fuck. And years later, this fucking happened because it bounced from there to fucking Warner Brothers to the Weinstein Company. Fuck the Weinsteins, by the way, to the Weinstein Company, and then Summit, which actually is the team that distributed the film. Because it was gonna also be under DreamWorks. There's so many companies that had their hands involved in this fucking thing.
This is probably what happened then.
Yeah.
Every company probably had their own concept of what they wanted. And as they were, you know, writing or even animating, this company was like, hey, this is a great story, but this is what the suits want.
Yeah.
And then they were like, okay, we can throw that in there. And then it got bounced. Oh, that's a nice movie you got. Hey, you know what? We would really like it this.
Yeah, if you did this.
And it just kept going on and on because there's not a plot here. There are plots.
Yeah.
And none of them are bad even.
No, and just the only plot that has any cohesion and any wrap up is that of Tenma and Toby.
Yeah.
That's it. There's an entire... Okay, so whenever he goes down to the junkyard, right, he meets, what is it, Zane, Widget, Cora, and Sludge, like, and a dog robot named Trash Can.
I love Trash Can.
Same. When he meets all these fuckers, like, there's this whole dude named Hamig, which it's spelled Hameg. I think it's fucking funny. And he used to be the leader of the Ministry of Science, and he's watching all these kids or whatever the fuck. Well, when he figures out Astro's, like, a robot or whatever, he tries to put him in this, like, fighting ring or whatever. It looks like a Thunderdome for fucking robots, basically. And they've rebuilt this giant one named Zog. And there's an entire subplot of Cora and Astro, because they name him Astro at this point, getting to know each other. And she's telling him like all this shit about how like, oh, I try to call my parents and I'm still down here and I don't know if they're looking for me and all this other shit, where it's like they're just orphaned children or whatever. And okay, there's a plot there.
Yeah.
The other plot is that Astro doesn't immediately tell her that he's a robot, and then she gets kind of pissy about it whenever it's revealed that he is a robot. And I'm like, why are you pissed off about him being a robot? You know, just all this other shit.
This easily could have been the second movie.
Yeah, and Metro City starts to fall. Like once they get back up to Metro City, it starts to fall from the ensuing fight that happens between he and Stone, because Stone was like, hey, let me just use this negative reactor. Because Tenma had.
You're glossing over so.
I know, but what I'm saying, like, well, this movie fucking glossed over a bunch of shit too.
And I was about to bring that up, but go ahead and continue.
Yeah, so essentially what happens is Stone and them find out that Astro is down in this fucking junkyard, and they go and capture him, and they take everybody else in with them. They bring him to Tenma, who has agreed to deactivate him, and he pulls the fucking core out of him. And then he has a change of heart whenever another depressing moment happens when he's like, I'm sorry I couldn't have been a better Toby for you, Dad. And he fucking dies on the table. And you're just like, God, what a piece of shit his dad is. Like, for real?
Yeah, because at no point was Toby being, like, aggressive with it. He, like, the way you said it is not how he said it. He was like, I'm sorry I couldn't be a better Toby for you, Dad. Like, he was being genuine.
I know, God.
Like, he was legitimately sorry that he was not good enough.
And how fucked up do you gotta be to, like, make somebody feel that way? When you make a fucking robot feel that way, you make a fucking AI feel like shit. You gaslit this little fucking kid.
And the thing is like, it wasn't even, like, overly emotional. It was like he was just, like, saying it matter-of-factly.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he was sorry. He was genuinely sorry, but he was like, hey, man, facts are facts. I just wasn't good enough.
Dies.
Like, what the fuck?
Yep. And then, of course, like, you know, Nick Cage, Chin was like, oh, God damn it, I guess I better put the core back in this child and call him my son.
Put the core back in the box.
Yeah. But yeah, he has a change of heart, puts it back, and he's like, fly, son, fly. And he just flies out. That's the point where Stone takes this fucking red core and he puts in this giant Ed 209 Iron Giant hybrid robot looking fuck.
Yeah, and the robot, like, was already sentient with a voice, but then absorbs Stone. And it's unclear to me if Stone was in control or if he was just watching. I don't understand who was maneuvering.
I think Stone assumed control of it.
And that's how I assume it too by the end. Whenever Stone was just Stone again, and he was still doing, like, the pew, pew, pew. I get that, but, like, the robot was already sentient and it absorbs. So I don't understand. Like, do you follow what I'm saying?
Yeah, I get it, dude.
You were already in control of yourself with a personality. I don't know. Whatever. I don't know.
Yeah, so the subplot is that the red and blue core cannot exist near each other and they will destruct. Like, if they're not rejected quickly enough from one another, it will destroy it. So, for the third fucking time, Tenma, quote, loses his son because he dies in the fucking accident and then he shuts him off. And then this time, Astro is just like, this is what I was built for. Onward and upward, right, Dad? So he just decides to fly into the core processing, like, piece of this robot and it blows it up. Astro's body falls on the fucking ground. Stone is not dead, surprisingly. Gets arrested. And Zog revives Astro. And then I'm going to let you take the reins here because, like, we get this happy ending where, and I'm simplifying this because my man's over here. I have questions too, but my man's over here is fucking bent, y'all. There's a happy ending where Tenma and Astro are reunited as father and son. You know, they're accepted or whatever. Korra's mom and dad just randomly appear and they're like, oh, hey, Korra, that you? And she's like, Mom, Dad, they're like, we've been looking high and low for you. And I'm like, you weren't looking low enough. You didn't go under the fucking city to look for your kid, did you, bitch?
How?
And then the fucking
happened?
ending. And then the ending with the big fucking alien in the sky.
Okay, so first of all, with the whole Korra parents thing, what the fuck happened? Like, legit, what happened? Because, okay, like you said, you weren't looking hard enough. Number two, what could have possibly been the story here?
That's what I want to know too.
Like I said, that whole subplot with those characters could have been the second movie, and you could have almost had a Toy Story 2 type of story. You know, where you could have had that scene of Korra, you know, like working with her little phone. It wasn't working. Astro Boy is just vibing in the back watching, and she's just sulking, and you as the audience see like the Jesse flashback, essentially, okay? This is elementary. Like, you're legitimately copy and pasting.
Yep, and you could have played on heartstrings of your audience and like got them really super invested, because I will tell you this right now, to go on your story here, every time I watch Toy Story 2 and the Jesse scene pops up, that shit hurts.
Yeah. And Astro Boy would have been like, hey, it's okay. My family threw me out too.
Like the garbage I am. They threw me out like recyclable metal.
But you see what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
This is simple. Number 2. Okay. We have established that you were looking for her. Okay. We still have not established what the fuck happened to begin with. But okay. We'll cross that bridge when we get there. How do we explain this? What has been going on? Okay, you've been looking, but bitch, where? And what is the closure for Cora? Does she abandon her friends? Do they live with her? Does she accept the apology? Did something come up for the family? Why was she thrown out to begin with? I don't understand. This makes no sense, and we got zero closure. It was legitimately a throwaway line. You might as well have cut that out and just let it be.
And let Cora accept these people as her new family.
Yeah, because that's, and I know some executive is going to be like, well, we wanted Cora to have a happy ending because we gave her the most development. First of all, you should have given every character that much development, motherfucker. Secondly, we as an audience never thought, well, this is going to be a sad ending because she never found her parents. We never thought that. We were just like, no, she has her family. Because now you can look at it and be like, okay, well, where's Sludge's happy ending? Like, we can do this all fucking day if you want.
Right.
So your logic is not sound. The other thing about this ending is random ass alien. I understand that it was setting up for a sequel. I get that, okay? And we didn't get a sequel because of box office. I understand that. But why was everybody like, oh, look, it's an alien. And it's attacking the city.
Boss, look, an alien! Where?
Like, what
For real?
What? Where did this come from? Were alien attacks always a thing? Is this basically their, like, hurricanes or earthquakes or tornadoes, et cetera, et cetera?
Like once a year, like an alien just shows up.
Like I don't understand the context here. Is this a big deal or not? And if it is a big deal, why is Metro City so glossy and perfect before that little motherfucker showed up? Because goddamn it, he destroyed the whole goddamn city like fucking Man of Steel. And he's a fucking, you know what? He's a fucking menace. I spent 96 minutes watching that little boy get his ass beat. And to be completely fair, he did so much property damage.
He's like Dennis the Menace.
Bro, he fucking, like, without even knowing what he could do, just decided, hey, I'm going to build a fucking tunnel.
True enough, because remember whenever he was down in the junkyard and they discovered like the busted up Zog? He's like, well, what are you going to do? Put that in your backpack? And he's like, she'd freak out if she knew I could pick this thing up. And it's like, dude, you know what you fucking are capable of.
That's scary as fuck. But I'm saying, like, whenever he was flying, the flying sequence, my man's was just like, holy shit, I can fly. I'm going to build this tunnel. What if you had a water pipe?
He wasn't thinking.
But you see what I'm saying? Like, whose yard is that? Whose yard? I swear to God, if a little AI boy tore up my fucking yard, I'm beating his ass like Hank Hill.
I love that this devolved into a get off my lawn speech.
Dude, I'm being for real. Get the fuck off my lawn. Motherfucker.
It's not Astro Boy, it's Asshole Boy.
Dude, I'm telling you. Little boy got his ass beat 90 minutes and good. Fucking good. You're a good kid. Don't get me wrong. You have your heart in the right place, but use your fucking head. You're a fucking genius, but you can't fucking... God damn it.
He's a robot.
Fuck.
He's a fucking robot.
Either fucking way. Hey, I will say that, though. There were no fart jokes here. I appreciated that. Most of these kid movies have that. They did have one butt joke, but it was like...
He had guns in his ass.
Yeah, was that in the anime?
I'm pretty sure there could have been, but
Okay.
if it wasn't, that you can tell, they were like, "Oh, we got to make an ass joke."
Yeah, points deducted. But
Yeah.
either way, I'm trying to understand what is the severity of the alien. Where did it come from? Is this a normal thing? I'm so confused.
America, explain.
For real, like, am I the only one who got bent out of shape over that?
You sounds like it, honestly, but it's fucking it's hilarious, dude.
Because I'm asking the real questions here.
I know you are, but it cracks me up because I'm just kind of like, it's a fucking alien in a CGI kids movie. Like, I'm pretty fucking sure that they were like, we gotta have some. I guarantee they're like, well, we have to have something to set up a sequel. Do we have anything? You know, there's an entire manga with depth and lore that we could pull from. Man, fuck that. Just bro, can you make me the alien from Futurama?
Dude, and the thing is, you can do the alien ending. I don't mind. Give it 30 seconds of backstory. Like, something.
Like
Where-
fucking Scott Pilgrim it real quick.
Yeah, where it would have been like, oh my God, it's back. Or,
See, that line right there would have done it. Would have done wonders.
well, I'm paraphrasing.
I know, but you got to you do understand, but like something as simple as that would have been fucking enough to suffice.
Yeah, like, dude, it would not. I don't know. Or better yet, you don't need it to be an alien. If you wanted to, there are ways that you can do this. You can have your cake and eat it too. But might I suggest instead, maybe because there was some blue core left. Okay, maybe. Now, granted, it was in Zog. Maybe, just maybe, a piece of the absorbed fucking wreckage. Because it's a robot that absorbs things, right? A little chunk as it was flying down from the air.
They could absorb itself onto Zog, maybe?
Yes.
And then Zog becomes the new villain by default,
Yes.
and not of his own accord, mind you. They just like, we have
Exactly.
to save Zog. We can't kill him, but he's definitely a bad guy.
Exactly. And it doesn't really register until after Toby is brought back.
Ah.
So then it starts to kind of absorb into him. And then you have that cliffhanger. And that whole movie could also be, I'm not going to fight you. Not only are you my friend, you are family. You saved my life.
Remember, because he wouldn't fight him in Thunderdome.
Exactly.
And I'm calling it Thunderdome because that's what it the fuck was.
Even though the consistency of the ceiling was vague,
Yeah, I
there was
like
that one scene where they fly over the
thing.
whatever.
And yeah,
Yeah. I'm being very hard on this, and I don't mean to be. But
it's all right.
it's just that the problems that I have with it they bother me.
If you have to choose between these two films, which were you more entertained by? Which, like, that's what we're saying here. It's not like which was the better adaptation. It's not even a question of that. I feel like it's always which movie entertained us more, which was just the better movie in our opinion, and that's kind of hard here. I honestly didn't think I would have this difficult of a time picking. Although I can say, just from an objective standpoint, Astro Boy wrapped itself pretty quickly. Speed
Yeah.
Racer, not so much. I felt like Astro Boy had a little more cohesion in certain spots.
It did. Yes.
Speed Racer was just kind of there to be there.
Speed Racer felt more of an amalgamation of different ideas.
Yeah.
Not necessarily in a bad way, but just objectively speaking. Even though, like I said, I feel like Astro Boy could have been 2, 3 I would say 2. Astro Boy could have been 2 movies. And they've meshed it into one super movie, even though it wasn't even that long. It was actually quite short and very rushed. It just felt more competent. Even though the first 30 minutes and the last 5 minutes would have you believe something completely fucking different. That combined total of 35 minutes, ass. I'm fucking infuriated thinking about it because then I'm looking at the ratio.
And you're looking at the other 59 minutes being like, okay.
This is pretty solid. I can respect this. Again, I'm not going to go out of my way, but if the kids want to watch it, I'm certainly not going to hate myself. But I got to follow my heart. Speed Racer.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think Speed Racer takes it on this one too. And it's just barely, because as much as I did think Astro Boy like was a more quick watch, and it felt like, okay, start, middle, end. There it is.
Yeah.
Speed Racer had a lot more going for it.
I think so. I feel like emotionally, Astro Boy hit it in spades. I think the emotional beats were just better. So much better. I feel, well, I wouldn't say so much more better, because they did have some good emotional beats in Speed Racer. And Speed Racer did have that wooden acting in there, here and there. It was very choppy, very indecisive in what it wanted to be, etc., etc. Like I said, Astro Boy was more consistent. I just feel like Astro Boy also aggravated me more.
Gotcha. You know what's fucked up? If we couldn't have decided, I was actually gonna be like, well, you know what, we should just give the consolation win to whichever movie lost more money.
Oh!
Okay.
You did the math, didn't you?
Absolutely. So Astro Boy lost $23 million at the box office, and Speed Racer lost $27 million at the box office.
Fuck. Which really means they lost 40 to 50.
But that's what I'm saying. Like they lost more. They didn't make up, basically, like the budget, like they didn't make it back. So they definitely lost their asses, but they were short $27 million just to break even. And that's not even truly breaking even, because nowadays you have to make double the budget to truly break even because of advertising shit.
Yeah.
So they really
now that
up.
you say that, I don't know if my math equation works for back then. I just know that it does now.
Yeah, so let's go ahead and just call it here. Speed Racer wins this Cult Cinema Showdown. Boy, howdy. I am not sure when we're going to do another Cult Cinema Showdown. We absolutely will do more of them in the future. However, I am here to say right now that in order to keep our love of cult films prevalent on the show, we do plan on doing standalone reviews of singular films.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, because like if we really sat and took the time to do Cult Cinema Showdowns like this few and far between, we would be here forever with the amount of shit we actually have matched up with one another.
Mm-hmm.
Plus, some of these movies, it's like they don't need a matchup to be talked about, but it's fun to match them together because, goddamn, there's a lot in common. I really want to come back in a few weeks and do our first standalone review under the Cult Cinema Saturday banner.
Ooh, okay.
And I would love to come back and bring a fucking a classic back, if you will, because you and I have never gotten to talk about this movie. There's a lot of movies we haven't gotten to talk about, but I really want to bring this motherfucker back because I think it's worth a revisit.
Okay.
Who Killed Captain Alex?
I'm in.
That is a certified Hollywood classic.
Yes.
And it needs to be discussed again, but with more time devoted to it. And that's the thing about doing a Cult Cinema Saturday. If you have that format, we can devote much more fucking discussion. Most of this shit is to do with the fact that I'm looking at, and Devin will tell you guys that I'm not shitting you, I have literal stacks of physical copies of movies that we haven't even talked about yet that I have invested money in for this podcast specifically.
Dear God.
They are still wrapped in plastic in boxes.
It's true.
I gotta rent a warehouse to put these motherfuckers in.
It's true. Like, I want to borrow them, but I don't feel like I'm worthy enough to be the one to break the seal.
But that's the thing is, like, anytime we talk about these movies, I feel like we have to have physical copies because it's like a trophy. Long story short, we're bringing cult cinema back to the forefront again. Singular doses.
Yeah.
Still guaranteed to be a lot of fucking fun. But until that happens, next week we are going to talk about the premiere of AEW Collision on TNT, the return of CM Punk, our Forbidden Door predictions and things of that nature.
Theories.
Yes.
But not Austin.
No. So until we come back for that, visit supermediabrospodcast.com for past, present, and future episodes. Check out all the other shows on the OddPods Media Network by visiting oddpodsmedia.com. Subscribe to us on YouTube. We are almost to the subscriber count to get into the partner program with YouTube. Get us to 500 subs. We will gladly thank you. In person, maybe. I'm not sure. Leave us a rating and review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, GoodPods, and Podchaser. Buy some merch. Don't forget to follow us on social media at SuperMediaBros _ on Twitter, SuperMediaBros Podcast on Instagram, where you can look at all of our stupid pictures. And if you want to, check us out on Facebook. Got anything else, Chief?
Stream my new album.
You already know. Search up Peg Me, all one word. PEGME. Do the shit.
Yeah, we just dropped a new album. Went through a lot of emotions on that one.
Stream it, it's fire.
Thank you.
We got to put the Astro Boy boots on like Seth Rollins and get the fuck out of here and bouncy boy.
I bet.
Yeah. Thank you for hanging out with us. This was Cult Cinema Showdown 105, Speed Racer versus Astro Boy. Until next time, I'm Richie.
I'm Devin.
Shades on.
We're off.